All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into what is essentially a massive wake-up call for your life. We are breaking down a seriously impactful approach to your time, your energy, and ultimately your success. We're going to explore exactly why we delay our dreams, and more importantly, how we can completely destroy procrastination just by rewiring our relationship with time itself. We're looking at the raw mechanics of motivation today, pulling from history, human biology, and the daily habits of the top 1%.
So, let me ask you this right out of the gate. What if 2025 was literally the last year you had on Earth? It's a pretty heavy question, right? But it instantly forces us to confront this super uncomfortable reality. You see, most of us are walking around living under the illusion of an endless supply of tomorrows. But if you suddenly had a 12-month expiration date, your entire perspective would shift in a split second. All that overthinking just vanishes, and raw, unfiltered action takes over. Section 1. Motivation for Mortality. Finding motivation in mortality.
So there's this really fascinating practice called memento mori, which translates to remember you must die. A lot of highly successful people actually carry a physical reminder of death with them just to maintain intense focus. Take the renowned author Robert Greene, for example. After surviving a severe stroke that left him partially paralyzed, he didn't just throw in the towel. Instead, this incredibly close brush with death gave him razor-sharp focus. He realized just how much we take our healthy bodies and our daily energy for granted. Keeping that constant reminder of mortality completely stripped away all of his trivial distractions.
And honestly, grounding your daily actions in the reality of your own mortality acts like a loaded gun to your procrastination. The late Steve Jobs famously looked in the mirror every single morning and asked himself this exact question. If his answer was no for too many days in a row, he knew making a change was an absolute emergency. When you start viewing your current goals through the lens of a strict, ultimate deadline, you just stop tolerating your own excuses.
Moving on to Section 2, Laziness and Reward. The illusion of laziness.
We tend to think of laziness as a personality trait, but it's actually not at all. Laziness is really just a bad habit. Specifically, the habit of focusing on the pain of effort instead of the joy of the reward. Think about it. Your brain is literally a survival machine trying to conserve energy. So if you're only looking at the heavy lifting, the late nights, or the stress of the grind, your brain naturally slams on the brakes. Action takers, on the other hand, flip this script entirely. They lock their vision purely on the joy and that massive payoff at the finish line.
To put that into perspective, just think about the 9 months of pregnancy and childbirth. It's arguably one of the most intense physical pains a human body can go through, yet mothers willingly endure it. Why? Because the brain manages to completely ignore the brutal effort in favor of the beautiful reward at the end. If you can attach that exact same overwhelming emotional reward to your own personal goals, suddenly the pain of discipline becomes incredibly easy to bear.
Now, here's a mind-blowing biological fact for you. Your cells have these little powerhouses called mitochondria, right? Well, they actually act as a battery backup, saving your deepest energy reserves strictly for fight or flight emergencies. That is exactly why you feel super sluggish doing routine daily tasks, but suddenly gain superhuman speed the night before a massive deadline. If you want to unlock that intense energy every single day, your success literally has to become an absolute necessity.
Section 3, Awareness and Focus. The power of true awareness.
Let's do a quick exercise. Think back over your last year. Be honest, you don't really remember the day-to-day blur of sleepwalking through your routines, do you? Out of 365 days, you probably only retain about 12 to 15 rare, highly intense moments when you were fully conscious and engaged. By waking up and dedicating just a few months of hyper-focused effort to one specific goal, you can honestly achieve more than most people do in half a lifetime of distraction.
And this is absolutely crucial right now, because even though modern technology is doing the physical work of 100 people, our human attention spans are just completely crashing. We're flooded with cheap dopamine from endless scrolling, and our modern brain's neuroreceptors are literally burning out. Focus is now the ultimate future currency. If you happen to be one of the rare few who can actually command your attention and lock it onto a single objective, you are going to effortlessly outcompete everyone else in the market.
Section 4. Power of the subconscious mind. The 95% autopilot. This chart right here explains exactly why relying on raw willpower almost always fails you. Seriously, you are trying to fight a 95% subconscious powerhouse with a measly 5% of conscious effort. You might watch a hyped-up motivational video and vow to completely change your life, but within a few days, your subconscious, which loves your deep comfort zones, just grabs the wheel right back and you end up exactly where you started.
Get this, out of roughly 50,000 choices you make every single day, your subconscious mind automatically dictates about 47,500 of them. That's wild, right? Highly successful people don't try to fight this loop, they reprogram it. They understand that to actually win the day, they have to negotiate with their subconscious and make it their greatest ally.
So how do you actually reprogram it? You feed your brain a clear, highly desirable reward the absolute second you wake up. You look at a vision board, you visualize the win, and you completely hijack that dopamine system. If your mind knows exactly what treasure it's hunting for right out of bed, it will automatically do the heavy lifting for you for the rest of the day.
Section 5. The comeback and the prestige. Planning the ultimate comeback.
You know, building success is exactly like pulling off a massive magic trick. Right now, it's super popular to do the pledge, announcing you're disappearing into isolation to grind. And then there's the turn, which is doing the actual hard work and changing your habits behind the scenes. But here is the kicker. Nobody claps until you return to shock the world with the prestige. Endings are literally everything. You have to engineer exactly how your comeback is going to finish. Because if you don't plan that final exit, you might do all the hard work and never actually reap the rewards. Look at the historical explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa. The guy endured brutal, unimaginable hardships to discover the Pacific Ocean. But because he only focused on the daily grind and totally ignored his political endgame, he ended up getting executed by a rival. The lesson here? Don't just plan your grind. You have to plan your victory lap.
Finally, Section 6, the obsession for success. The obsession for success.
Here is the ultimate truth. Relentless obsession is going to beat natural genius every single time. Take Charles Darwin. He actually wasn't considered naturally gifted at all, but his unwavering obsession with biology completely changed human history. Meanwhile, his cousin, Francis Galton, had a drastically higher IQ, but he constantly jumped around between shiny objects. Distracted genius is usually forgotten, but pure, unfiltered obsession leaves a legacy. Or take Leonardo da Vinci. When he was asked to paint an angel, he didn't just sit down and guess what wings looked like. No, his absolute obsession drove him to go out, buy real birds, and observe their flight mechanics for hours just to sketch them perfectly. And it was that exact obsession with flight that drove him to conceptualize the parachute and the helicopter, literal centuries before they were ever built.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, incredibly important question. When the clock strikes midnight on December 31st, what will your prestige be? The time to just casually work on your dreams is over. Treat your goals like an absolute emergency. Disappear into the hard work and shock everyone when you return. The countdown is running. Let's make it count.